One piece of video gear that you can't go without. One of the most important pieces of video gear that you can have is an ND filter. I'm Keelan Charles and this is your online library for videography tips. An ND filter is a filter that limits the amount of light that can reach your sensor. There are two different types of ND filters. There's a constant strength ND filter and there is a variable ND filter. I use a variable ND because it allows me to limit how much light actually reaches my sensor and change that as I go without having to completely remove the filter. When you're shooting video, you usually need to have quite a low shutter speed. What this means is there's a lot of light being allowed to reach your sensor, which is going to overexpose your image. If you don't have an ND filter, in order to compensate for this, you'd have to have a really large aperture. The problem with this is then you get rid of any depth of field, and also at higher aperture levels, your video is going to be less and less sharp. This is what 24 frames per second with a low aperture looks like. This is what 24 frames per second with a really high aperture looks like to expose properly. And this is what 24 frames per second looks like with an ND filter plus a low aperture.